Would part of what she meant and part of your experience have been that fun's one thing, but happiness and contentedness and purpose are tied somehow to accepting responsibility, taking on and accepting and exercising responsibility?
Well, I suppose that's the conclusion I've come to since. But I think for me at the time, just to set a bit of context for your audience, I didn't. I was a very radical leftist, and I was a very I suppose I was committed to an early version of what we think of as woke now. I went on marches, and I believed in the whole anybody can be anything they say they are, or at least I wanted to try and believe it. And I had a good old experimental go at believing it, and I took my friends seriously when they said they had special pronouns, and yeah, all that. I mean, it was all in very kind of germinal form in the noughties. This was some time ago. It hadn't kind of eaten the entire culture the way it has now. Um, and and I think it was I hadn't really thought about responsibility or contentment, because I was much more I hadn't really thought about the relationship between responsibility and meaning and contentment, and actually being able to build anything serious in your life, because at that point I was too sort of constitutively allergic to the idea of hierarchy or order or really sort of authority of any kind, I suppose, is the yeah. I was sort of basic in quite a basic way, like, allergic to authority. And if you're quite basically allergic to authority, the idea that actually it could add anything useful or beneficial to your life is it just doesn't compute. So and in that context, just be normal. I mean, obviously that's not what Grandma actually said. She said, "Grow your hair and get married." But I mean, from her perspective, effectively that amounts to can you please just be normal? Is the gentlest possible version of a suggestion that actually just fitting in with what everybody else is already doing, might actually be a route to happiness. Which, yeah, it didn't make any hit. It was counterintuitive to me at the time, but as it turned out, it was right. And I think, and it's, I mean, there's a lot has happened since then, John, and I've done a lot more thinking since then. But I think one of the reflections it left me with is just how much of the culture is dedicated to telling people that just be normal is terrible advice, which is not true. I mean, if you think about all of those kids' movies where, an ant or a bee or a penguin or something, becomes a heroic figure by doing something which doesn't fit in with everybody else around them, and it's the story that gets drummed into you by, from Pixar movies onwards, again and again and again, that what you absolutely must not do is just be normal. What you absolutely must not do is just do what everybody expects you to do. What you absolutely must not do is fit in with the role that everybody has allotted to you, because it's not even that you'll find that frustrating, or it's almost presented as immoral or a kind of failure, an abdication of responsibility, to say, okay, fine, I'll just go along with that. And everywhere the messaging says just be you, and there's an implication somehow that whatever it is that just be you means is not going to be, oh, I'm just going to be a normal person. That's never what it means. Somehow the answer can never be, okay, I'm just going to be a conventional person who lives in the Shires, has 2 or 3 kids, and has a nice life, and hangs out with their friends. That just be you has to mean something different implicit. It has to mean something, and I don't know. I suppose I'm the kind of nerd who tries to who takes that stuff far too literally. There's a great many people who just get on with being normal anyway. Fewer maybe these days, but enough of them, thank goodness. So I took all of that far too literally and tried to have a really good go at just being myself. And as it turned out, it's terrible advice. You have a much nicer life if you make a concerted effort to be normal. And if you're an eccentric or an unusual person, that will just happen anyway. There's nothing you can do about that.